Jonah brought his truck back. We're gonna patch this driver's side bed panel today. He's got these patch panels. They're pre-made. Obviously we're gonna fit them in there. But before we do that, we gotta get this cancer taken care of. Get this straightened back out. Take care of that and possibly some more down in here. We need to do a little bit more investigating. I'm gonna make this piece. Those weren't very tight now, were they? I mean, it's just a tire, it's fine.
It's not going on the highway.
So Jonah's gonna pull the tire off of here so we got more room to work. All right, here's the piece I just cut. Obviously it's very crude. This is a pretty crude process, but it's gonna turn out nice. So I'm gonna hold that up, just like I said, okay? Everything's oversized right now, which is fine. We can always cut it later, okay? I'm holding it up to where the top edge is into the solid steel up here. You reach underneath, scribe along the back side of this where it's rusty. Fortunately, there's enough material there to still get the shape. You can see that most of this is straight, okay? And then it starts curling right there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna split this right there. I'm gonna split that steel clear up to here. I'm gonna bend a 90 on this, and then I'm gonna bend this and start manipulating that to get that angle. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna leave this rust here for now to use to make my template to patch this in. Then we'll cut it out, we'll butt weld it in, we'll remove this piece, and then we'll do the same thing here. We'll make ourselves a little template here. This one's gonna be pretty easy because it's pretty much straight, so it's gonna be pretty much a straight bend there. This one, you've got the radius to deal with, so making that's a little different technique. So we'll use this as a template to make the new one before we cut that out. Okay, I'm gonna clamp this in the vise and fold that over, like I said. Everything's long right now, so all I'm concerned about is getting a 90-degree angle on this. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're gonna shape everything and cut it to fit. Okay, I'm chucked in the vise, fold it over. See, I put that relief in there so we can change the angle there. Fold that over. This is going in the inside of a bed where nobody's ever going to see it. We want it to fit nicely because if it wasn't, if it was an odd shape, it might distort the exterior of the bed. Okay, so you can see that that's at a 90 right there. That's how we want it for the bottom. Eventually we're gonna cut this to length for the bottom lip of the fender. But before we do that, see how it's straight right here? The inside of the fender starts radiusing right in this area. In order to get that radius, I'm going to find a scrap piece of pipe. I think I've got some scrap pipe kicking around, and I'm going to stick the pipe in the vise, clamp it down, and then roll that around the pipe, and just go back and forth and test fit it. Okay, I found this piece of 2-inch pipe. Seems like it's about the right radius. All I've done is work this over. It actually worked out pretty good because I believe where the fender starts radiusing is about where this pipe radiuses. If I just set this right on the pipe. All right, now you can see what I was talking about with that radius. It's kind of like, that's a better angle. That pipe worked out slick. So what I've got is basically the bend starts right where it's supposed to start, and it's about the same radius. I think I'm gonna have to flatten it out just a little bit, but like my dad always said, we're not really building a piano. We're building the inside of a fender, actually. So, I mean, obviously, if this was the bedside, I'd be a lot more concerned. But when this is all patched in there, I think it's going to look just fantastic. So I'm going to go flatten this out a little bit. And then what I've got to do is I've got to cut this bottom lip off. So I'm going to hold this up, mark the ends. I'm going to mark the ends of it so I know where to cut the bottom lip. Cut the bottom lip, and what that's going to do is allow me to get this pushed up where it's supposed to be. Right now, this band is the thickness of this metal too far down. So once I cut that bottom lip off, I'll be able to flush this up with the existing metal on both sides and start tacking it in. So I got this piece just where I want it. So all I'm going to do right now is, I know I can take a bunch of metal out of here, but I'm not going to try to flush it up, okay? So I'm going to mark both ends of this, and then I know I can come up in here about an inch and cut across. So marking both ends, I'm going to come up in here. I'm going to remove, I don't have to do much cutting, and remove about that much. I'm going to cut this and that so that I can flush up this corner with this corner and this corner with this corner. That's all I'm concerned with right now. You might be thinking, what are you doing? You're gonna overlap weld that? That's not what I'm doing. I'm gonna butt weld it and cut this out at the same time. So what I'm doing right now, I'm just gonna clamp this where it needs to be, and then we're gonna tack weld this in, and then we're gonna cut it and butt weld it where it needs to be. Okay, and that end. Okay, we're flushed up right there. We're flushed up here. Oh, sweet, I get to try out my new Harbor Freight welding gloves. Okay, Now I got a couple good tacks in there. Pull the vice grip off. I'm going to come in here with this cut-off wheel. I'm going to cut this at about a 45-degree angle. Cut that corner so this lays down in there. So I'm going to slice there, slice there. We're going to push that back in and then tack weld it there, and then we're going to work our way around the edge and do the same. Weld it clear around. And then the piece that's back there is just going to come right out. All right, so the reason I did the 45-degree angle is it's less of a gap to weld. If you're gonna go straight in, it's a bigger gap because the blade's coming down like this, and the gap's smaller. All I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna hold that back. I'm gonna tack this in so I can move across and cut more out. Okay, so tack there. I'm going to cut more here and just work my way across. That's hot, Jonah. There's the piece. Okay, and I'm going to weld this in, and then I got to deal with this awkward little corner. In case you're wondering, Harbor Freight's welding gloves are pretty good. There's the other piece. I'm going to flush that up. Weld that in. Weld the rest of this stuff. Do some grinding. You can see this right here. I got that protruding. All I'm going to do is take the vice grips, clamp them on there, and roll the vice grips. Use the leverage of the vice grips to roll that right down there. Okay, this is where we're at. Obviously they're not the prettiest welds, so bear with me. Sheet metal welding is not about pretty, it's about getting it put together without burning through it. Now, if you look at the profile, it's the right profile. It matches the existing. That's what I was concerned with. This radius here, it matches the existing, what was existing. That's where I cut the metal before I bent it. So I'm going to massage that with a hammer, get that right where it needs to be, and then I got to bring this down, get that clamped together, weld that up. The reason I left the bottom of this long is it's just a lot easier and it saves a ton of time to leave this long, and then after it's all welded in, you just scribe a line the whole length and cut it to width, so you're not trying to fit up a bunch of little pieces. So that's that patch. We're about done with that one. We've got a very similar situation here. We'll get this patched in. And then same thing here, we'll section this off. We'll cut about that much out of it. Get rid of that and any rust that's not showing in here. Since we're in here, we're gonna cut about here all the way down to about there and replace all of this. Because where you see rust here, you know you've got rust on the other side. Here's what I've done here. This radius is more substantial of a radius than what was here. So this was mostly flat and then it kind of kicked down right here. So I felt like that was okay to just bend this flat and then taper it here. This radius is such that it's a true radius. It's not a flat with like a kicker on it. So what I've done is I scribed the radius on this scrap piece of metal, and then I just cut a 1-inch piece and matched it up with that radius and welded it onto the face panel here. So obviously this is going to get cut off down here where my pinky's at, but that radius matches up exactly with where this radius is at. So in order to bend that radius, you either have to do a whole bunch of little slices, band it and weld each little slice, or you do something like this. So I put a bunch more weld in the inside of this than really is needed. And the reason I did that is because when we weld this on, we're going to end up grinding this corner to get this kind of a rounded edge on it. Not that it really matters behind the other fender. I'm going to cut that corner off, and then while I'm doing that, Jonah's going to cut this metal out where I've got the marks, and that's going to be where that sits. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to butt weld. We're going to cut and butt weld at the same time and lay this in there. Okay, I went ahead and got this all trimmed up, trimmed the bottom. It's still rough. We're going to grind that after it's on the panel. We'll grind it round. Okay, now that we're tacked in place, I can cut here, I can cut that, and then this is gonna fall in to where it needs to be, and then I'll do the same thing. I'll work my way around here, and then I can cut that again, and it'll fall in. I'm gonna cut across the top, let that fall in. Same thing here, cut across there. By then, that section that we're cutting out is gonna come out the back side. Doesn't want to give up the ghost. There it is. No remove. Okay, I'm just flushing this up. I'm going to tack it here and make sure I'm flush on the bottom. Car shows that this is gonna matter, you're at the wrong car show. Okay, there's another one on the books. We'll grind this up. Like I said, this is proud. It's low there. Grind that up. Grind this up. Grind the little nub. Got to deal with this. That's all rotten. Got to put a piece in here. And then same thing over here. We got to patch that up. We'll put a patch here. And then I think for tonight, we're just gonna clean this up, get it all ground down, spray it with some primer so it doesn't rust, and then Jonah will have to come back. We'll put the patch panel in. Did you cut a piece for here, Jonah?
Working on it.
Hey, you catch on fast. So he did the same thing I did here. He basically scribed this to there, okay? And then we're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna stitch that on there, and then we'll cut this out and blaze it in there. All right, why don't you get some primer on there, Jonah? Like lots of it.
You guys did a nice job on that independent. I'm serious.
Too nice.
Nobody does that.
That's probably good.
That shook up enough, trust me.
He's probably counting, he read the
The
back.
back said 87.
Yeah. Just paint it, dude.
It don't have to be pretty. You just gotta get the paint on there. Load it up.
You missed a spot. Right in this region. That's it for tonight. We got metal etching primer on it. And honestly, this is probably as far as we're gonna go with this inner fender. Put a couple more drain holes in it. One there, one there, one there. Well, we enlarged the factory one. And then I just left this off of that bump out for a drain hole, mostly because I got tired of messing with it. That's it for now. Next time we're gonna put the skin on this.